On Wednesday, August 17th, the school buses came rolling into Brashear for the first day of the 2016-2017 school year. The day began with an assembly in the gym where new rules were explained and teachers were introduced. Class meetings were then held to elect class officers. This year's enrollment is 177 students. With the April passage of the school bond issue, many improvements and upgrades have been made around school. Deteriorating roof sections were repaired, old windows were replaced with energy-efficient ones. Window air conditioners were replaced with rooftop units, and an insulating layer was placed over existing cinder-blocked walls. The view of the school from the east has changed dramatically with the removal of the Crockett and McKim structures and the construction of a new bus maintenance barn. On Tuesday, candidates for Student Council President and Vice President gave their speeches during a fourth-hour assembly, and voting was done Wednesday. Congratulations to the new Student Council President and Vice President, Hannah Reeves and Micaiah Potter. The Tiger teams kicked off their fall 2016 seasons on the road at Newton Harris. In the softball game, Newton Harris got on the board with a pair of runs in the bottom of the first inning. It took a while for Brashear to get the bats going, but they took a 3-2 lead in the top of the fifth. The Lady Tigers were able to hang on their lead until Newton Harris scored twice in the bottom of the seventh to claim the win. Avery Acton and Alexa Higgins each had 2 hits for Brashear, with Harley Mihalovich, Haley Lawrence, and Hannah Reeves also had hits. Acton was on the mound for Brashear, striking out 12 while walking only 3. The Tigers got off to a quick start in the baseball game, scoring 3 runs in the first and 7 in the second to take a 10-0 lead. Brashear was eventually able to put 14 runs on the scoreboard to hold off Newton Harris for a 14-9 win. Jacob Blething homered and had 3 hits for Brashear. Colt had 5 hits, Zane had 3 hits, and John Gerhold and Wyatt Reeves also had hits. Acton got the start for Brashear, striking out 11 in 4 innings of work. Brett Place pitched in relief. Members of the Brashear High School Renaissance program were treated to breakfast Tuesday morning at the Keller Building. The Renaissance program recognizes students for good grades, good attendance, and good behavior. The Brashear High School Marching Band has begun morning practices in preparation for the fall marching season. Many other organizations such as Art Club, FBLA, Chorus, Shout Club, and Math and Science Club are also organizing it for the year. Milan came to Brashear Monday night for a softball game. The Wildcats went to work with the bats, scoring a pair of runs in the top of the first. Brashear answered with a run to make the score 2-1, Milan after 1 inning. Brashear kept Milan's offense in check, allowing only single runs in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings, but Milan broke out for a 7-run 6th inning. Milan did a good job of keeping Brashear off the bases until the Tigers scored a run in the bottom of the 6th. The final score was 12-2. Harley Mihalovich, Emily Mason, Alexa Higgins had hits for Brashear. Avery Acton got the start with Hannah Reeves pitching in relief. Brashear High School held their first blood drive of the year Tuesday at the Keller Community Building. Thanks to everyone who participated and helped out. The Tigers made the long road trip to Meadville Friday night. The girls got on the scoreboard with a run in the top of the first, but Meadville took a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the frame. Brashear closed the deficit to 3-2 with a run at the top of the sixth, but Meadville scored 6 in the bottom of the sixth. Brashear rallied in the top of the seventh, but fell short by a score of 9-5. Alexa Higgins and Harlan Mahalovich had 3 hits each for Brashear, with Emily Mason, Avery Acton, Michaela Potter, and Bailey Moncrief also having hits. Avery Acton got the start with Hannah Reeves pitching in relief. The baseball game was a no-doubter all the way as Brashear coasted a 21-1 win. The Tigers scored 2 in the first and another 6 in the second and never looked back. Meanwhile, Jacob Byling kept Meadville scoreless for 3 innings. The bullpen of Aiden Zintz and Zane Sykes were also effective, allowing only 1 run in the 5-inning game. Colt Acton had 4 hits for Brashear, Jacob Byling had 3 hits, Zane Sykes, Brett Place, and Wyatt Reeves had 2 each, and John Gerhold and Drew Ford also had. The Lady Tigers put up a quick run in the top of the first Tuesday night at Novender, but they didn't score again until a 3-run 5th inning. Meanwhile, Novender scored 4 in the second, 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and 2 in the fifth on their way to a 9-4 win. Avery Acton had 3 hits for Brashear, Emily Mason and Harlan Mahalovich had 2 hits each, and Alexa Higgins and Haley Lawrence also had hits. Acton got the start for Brashear. The baseball game was a pitcher's duel, as neither team scored until the 5th when some sloppy defense by Brashear allowed Novender to score a pair of unearned runs. Brashear scored a run in the 6th, but fell shortly by a final score of 2-1. Jacob Byling had 3 hits for Brashear, Colt Acton and Zane Sykes had 2 hits each, and Wyatt Reeves also had a hit. Byling went the distance on the mound for Brashear, retiring the first 13 batters he faced and striking out 11 on the night. Brashear High School students were in St. Louis Wednesday for the Cardinals Career Day and baseball game. A panel of guest speakers gave tips about careers in the sports industry and the importance of education in the morning before the afternoon ball game. These students qualified for the trip with their advanced or proficient scores on last spring's end-of-course test. The Lady Tigers softball team traveled to Knox County Monday for a non-conference game. Brashear put a run on the scoreboard in the top of the first, but Knox County scored 8 in the first, 1 in the second, 8 in the third, and 3 in the fourth to claim a 20-5 win. Brashear's other runs came in the second as the Tigers scored 4 times. Alexa Higgins and Emily Mason each doubled for Brashear, with Harlan Mahalovich, Jana Garlock, and Hannah Reeves also having hits. Reeves got the start for Brashear with Avery Acton pitching in relief. The Brashear vs. Atlanta softball game was a wild one from the very beginning. Atlanta scored 3 times in the top of the first, but Brashear answered with 4 in the first and 3 in the second to lead 7-3. Atlanta pushed across 8 runs in the top of the third to take an 11-7 lead. But Brashear scored 1 in the bottom of the third and 2 in the bottom of the fourth to pull within 11-10. Atlanta scored 2 in the fifth to extend their lead to 13-10. But Brashear answered with a 4 to reclaim the lead 14-13 after 5 innings. Atlanta scored another run in the sixth to tie the game. But Brashear scored a pair in the bottom of the sixth and held on for a 16-14 win. Avery Acton had 3 doubles and 6 RBIs for Brashear. Hannah Reeves had a hit and 3 RBIs. And Alexa Higgins, Haley Lawrence, Tana Garlock, and Sadie Potter also having hits. Avery Acton got the start for Brashear, striking out 9. The baseball game just got into the start of the first inning when the rain arrived, forcing it into the game. It is rescheduled for October 4th.
Last Friday night was senior night for the Lady Tigers softball players. In a ceremony after the game, seniors Sadie Potter, Haley Lawrence, and Michaela Potter were introduced to the crowd and presented gifts by their teammates.
Friday night, when the Bevere softball team scored 3 times in the first and twice in the second inning, it looked like the Lady Tigers might be in for a tough night. However, Brashear scored 3 runs of their own in the first and 5 in the second to take an 8-5 lead. The Lady Tigers posted another 5 runs in the third as they ran away to a 16-6 6-inning victory. Avery Acton had 3 doubles and 2 singles and a 5 at-bat for Brashear. Harley Mihalovich and Emily Mason each had a double and a single. Tana Garlock had a double, and Haley Lawrence and Hannah Reeves both singled. Avery Acton went the distance on the mound for Brashear. The baseball game started out with Bevere scoring 4 times in the first, but Brashear managed a run in the bottom of the first to make the score 4-1. Starter Colt Acton buckled down in the second, holding Bevere to 1 run, and then pitched scoreless 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings to keep Brashear's chances alive. Zane Sykes pitched scoreless 6th and 7th inning in relief. The game went to the bottom of the 7th with Brashear trailing 5-4 when Colt Acton hit a 2-out single and Zane Sykes delivered a 2-run walk-off homer for the 6-5 Brashear win. In addition to Sykes' home run, he also had 2 singles for Brashear, and Jacob Blything and Colt Acton also had hits. The Lady Tigers softball team headed to the Schuyler County tournament Saturday. Their first opponent of the day was Cairo, who went to work putting up 4 runs in the top of the first. Brashear's defense tightened up for the next 3 innings, holding Cairo scoreless until a 3-run 4th and a 5-run 5th ended the game early. Brashear scored lone runs in the 2nd and 5th in the 12-2 loss. Avery Acton had 2 hits for Brashear, with Emily Mason and Tana Garlock also having hits. Acton took the loss for Brashear. Scotland County was their opponent for the second game. Brashear scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 in the third, and held a 5-2 lead after 4 innings. The Tiger offense couldn't score again, and Scotland County eventually went on to win 9-5. Alexa Higgins doubled and had 2 singles for Brashear. Sadie Potter had 2 hits. Emily Mason, Tana Garlock, and Hannah Reeves also had hits. Avery Acton got the start on the mound.
The Marion County Mustangs were in town Tuesday night. In the softball game, Brashear jumped on the scoreboard with 5 runs in the first and 2 in the second, then ended the game after 6 innings with a 4-run outburst to win 11-1. Marion County's only run was unearned in the 5th as Avery Acton pitched a no-hitter for the win. Haley Lawrence had 2 hits for Brashear, with Harley Mihalovich, Avery Acton, Alexa Higgins, Michaela Potter, and Hannah Reeves also having hits. 2 key at-bats came in the bottom of the 6th as Megan McHenry and Michaela Potter drove in the final 2 runs to end the game. In the baseball game, Brashear's Jacob Blything was tough on the Marion County hitters, retiring the first 10 batters in order. Marion County managed to string together a walk and a pair of hits in the 4th to score 2 runs. Meanwhile, Blything helped his own cause with a 3-run blast in the first to give Brashear the lead for good as they won 12-2 in 5 innings. Blything also had a double for Brashear. Aiden Zentz had a pair of hits, with Colt Acton, Brett Place, Sebastian Melendez, and Drew Ford also having hits. Ford's hit ended the game in the 5th. Blything went the distance on the mound for Brashear, striking out 10.
Friday night, the Brashear Booster Club held their 2nd annual barbecue on the square in downtown Brashear. A large crowd gathered for the barbecue meal, bingo, kettle corn, dunk tank, live music, and other entertainment. Last Thursday, the Lady Tigers softball team traveled to Green City for a non-conference game with the Gophers. Brashear got on the scoreboard with a run in the first, but Green City held a 4-1 lead after 3 innings. Brashear scored a run in the fourth and one in the fifth, and put up 3 runs in the seventh, but it wasn't enough as Green City won 9-6. Alexa Higgins had 3 hits for Brashear, Emily Mason, Avery Acton, and Hannah Reeves had 2 hits each. And Harlan Mihalovich, Haley Lawrence, and Tanner Garlick also had hits. Acton got the start on the mound. On Tuesday, the Brashear baseball team finally got to complete the game with Atlanta that was halted by the rain earlier. The Tigers picked up the game trailing 4-0 in the first, but gradually chipped away at Atlanta's lead. The Tigers finally tied the game at 7-7 in the 6th inning, then scored once more in the 7th to claim victory by a final score of 8-7. Jacob Blything had a pair of home runs to lead the Brashear offense. Colt Acton got the start with Jacob Blything pitching in relief. The Lady Tigers began district softball play Wednesday night against Schuyler County. Brashear had a rough outing at the plate in Schuyler County. Pitching was perfect through 3 1/3 innings. Harlan Mihalovich broke through with a 1-out bunt in the fourth for Brashear's only hit. The game went 5 innings before Schuyler County ended it by a score of 10-0. Avery Acton got the start for Brashear. Last Saturday, the band kicked off their 2016 marching season as they traveled to Fayette for the CMU Band Festival. The band competed with 15 other bands in the Class 1 division, taking 6th place. The band was also in action Tuesday as they traveled to the Hannibal Band Day Parade. Their next performance is this Saturday at the Trenton Parade. The Brashear Junior High basketball teams both faced the La Plata B squads at the Green City tournament. The girls took the early lead and went on to a win by a score of 24-12 to advance to Friday's title game. The boys also advanced to the championship game with a 37-9 win over the La Plata B. Brashear jumped out to a 6-2 lead after the 1 quarter and cruised to an easy win. Gary Hausman had 14 points, Austin Peterson had 6 points, Brandon Jonkinson had 5 points, Quinn Allen had 4 points, Wyatt Reeves had 4 points, Fisher Reese had 2 points, and Brett Place had 2 points. This past Saturday, the Brashear Marching Tiger Band performed in the Trenton Parade along with many other bands from areas all across northern Missouri. Their next marching performance will be at the Truman State University Homecoming Parade Saturday. On Monday, the Tri-County Conference Choir held their annual concert tour. Singers representing the 10 Tri-County schools put on concerts at La Plata, Atlanta, and Bevier. Megan McHenry, Madeline McGinnis, Celia Kincaid, and Morgan Magruder were Brashear's representatives in the choir. On Tuesday, the Brashear chapter of FBLA held their annual Fall Fun Night. The evening was a murder mystery with a tropical theme. Students dressed and acted out various roles to solve the mystery. The Lady Tigers faced the La Plata A squad in the championship game of the Green City tournament. It was a tough defensive battle in the early going, but Brashear finally prevailed for a 19-11 win and first place finish. Emily Mason scored 6 points, Hannah Grisman scored 6 points, Callie Altide, Abby Hartwig, and Hannah Garlick all scored 2 points, and Kinley White scored 1 point. The Tigers also faced the La Plata A team in the first place game. La Plata jumped out to an early lead and never were threatened as they rolled to a 45-14 win to claim first place in the tournament. Austin Peterson scored 5 points, Garrett Hasman scored 4 points, Quinn Allen and Brandon Johnson scored 2 points, and Wyatt Reeves scored 1 point. Brashear hosted Atlanta Monday night in the girls' game. Atlanta jumped out to a 15-4 lead at the half and fought off a late Tiger rally to win 27-17. Hannah Grissom scored 7 points, Kinley White scored 6 points, and Callie Altide and Tana Garlick scored 2 points. The Tigers also struggled to keep pace with Atlanta, taking a 17-8 lead by halftime. Brashear could not close the gap in the second half, and Atlanta got the win 37-24. The past Thursday, members of the Brashear High School chapter of FBLA visited the campus of Culver Stockton College for a career day, where they learned of many options for after graduation. Also, last Thursday, the Student Council sponsored Movie on the Hill night. Because of cool weather, the event was moved indoors to the elementary. Another Brashear High School group was on the road for a field trip Tuesday. Brashear civics classes visited the Dare County Courthouse, where they got to learn about the inner workings of county government. The Lady Tigers played at Green City Friday night. Neither team could get their offenses firing in the early going, but Brashear finally took a 6-3 lead after one quarter. The game was still close at halftime, with Brashear leading 12-10, but the Lady Tigers were able to pull away in the second half for a 27-17 win. Kinley White had 10 points, Emily Mason had 8 points, Callie Altide had 4 points, Tana Garlick had 3 points, and Hannah Grissom had 2 points. The Tigers faced a tough Green City team, and it was a close game all the way. Both teams led at times, but neither team was able to build a lead of any size until Brashear finally pulled away late in the second half to claim a 40-35 victory. Garrett Hasman had 12 points, Austin Peterson had 12 points, Brandon Johnson had 11 points, and Quinn Allen had 5 points. The Tigers hosted the Plata Monday in the girls' game. Brashear trailed most of the way. In the fourth quarter, Brashear mounted a rally that tied the game at 28-all, with a minute left to play. Both teams had scoring opportunities, and both teams went to the free throw line. La Plata converted one of their free throws, and Brashear came up empty as La Plata hung on for a 29-28 win. Emily Mason had 11 points. Hannah Grissom had 11 points, Tana Garlock had 4 points, and Callie Altide had 2 points. The Brashear and La Plata boys were close during the first half, with Brashear holding a 19-18 lead at halftime. Brashear ran into some foul trouble in the second half, and while they stayed within striking distance for a while, La Plata eventually pulled away for a 40-28 win. Garrett Hausman had 12 points. Austin Peterson had 5 points. Quinn Allen had 4 points. Wyatt Reeves had 4 points. Brandon Johnson had 2 points, and Jay Snelling had 1 point. The Brashear Lady Tigers hosted Bevere during Tuesday night. Brashear used a strong defense to jump out to a 25-8 halftime lead. The second half was more of the same as Brashear rolled to a 34-18 win. Emily Mason had 13 points, Hannah Grissom had 7 points, Callie Altoid had 6 points, Kinley White had 4 points, Abby Hartwig and Tana Garlick both had 2 points. The Tigers also quickly jumped out to an early 15-2 lead, pressing and running at the floor. Brashear eventually led by as many as 22 points in the second half, coasting to a 38-23 win. Garrett Hausman had 15 points. Austin Peterson had 7 points. Quinn Allen had 6 points. Brandon Johnson had 5 points. Jay Snelling had 2 points, and Wyatt Reeves had 2 points.
On Monday, everyone was in the Halloween spirit as elementary students, high school students, and even faculty dressed up for the occasion. A high school costume contest was held, as well as the elementary Halloween parade. Another blood drive was held this week downtown at the Keller Building. We would like to thank all of the donors who took time to stop by and donate. The Tigers visited the Buckland Gym Thursday for a pair of games with BMC. The girls' game started with a lot of aggressive defense in a small gym, not the recipe for a high-scoring game. BMC led 10-6 at halftime. The second half was a different story, with Brashear outscoring BMC 18-6 to claim the 24-16 win. Emily Mason had 12 points for Brashear, Hannah Grissom had 6, Callie Altoid had 2, Tana Garlock had 2, and Kinley White had 2 points. The Brashear and BMC boys seemed evenly matched as Brashear led 14-10 after one quarter, but Brashear took charge and extended their lead to 25-12 at the half on their way to a 40-25 win. Garrett Hausman had 19 points for Brashear, Austin Peterson scored 9, Quinn Allen had 8, Wyatt Reeves had 2, and Brandon Johnson also had 2 points. A tough Meadville half-court defense plus a fast break offense were too much for the Lady Tigers Monday night. The Lady Eagles outscored Brashear 24-8 by halftime. Brashear's best quarter was in the fourth, but it was too little, too late as Meadville won by a score of 34-23. Emily Mason had 14 points for Brashear, Hannah Grissom had 7, and Kinley White had 2. The boys' game was a different matter as Brashear was the one playing the tough defense and fast-paced offense. The Tigers held Meadville's scoring in the single digits in the first half, with Brashear taking a 31-9 lead into halftime. The pace was a little slower in the second half as Brashear coasted to a 40-14 win. Garrett Hausman had 13 points for Brashear, Quinn Allen scored 12, Brandon Johnson had 6, Austin Peterson had 5, and Jay Snelling had 4 points. The Brashear Junior High basketball teams hosted Novinger Tuesday. The Lady Tigers fell behind 5-0 to start the game, but then won on a 20-2 run to finish the first half, leading 20-7. Brashear continued to roll in the second half, winning by a final score of 37-15. Hannah Grissom scored 19 points for Brashear. Emily Mason added 14, Callie Altoid had 2, and Tana Garlock also had 2 points. The Brashear boys fell behind the Novinger Wildcats 14-2 after the first quarter, but clawed their way back, trailing only 25-18 at halftime. The Tigers scored a bucket early in the third quarter to pull within 25-20, but that was as close as they would get as Novinger pulled away for a 47-24 win. Garrett Hausman scored 10 points for Brashear, Austin Peterson had 8, Brandon Jacobson had 4, and Quinn Allen had 2 points. On November 5th, singers from all over the Northeast Missouri area met in Moberly as the Northeast Missouri District Choir performed. Students were selected to the choir by audition. Congratulations to Cameron McGinnis and Megan McHenry, who represented Brashear High School. The Lady Tigers struggled to stay close in the early going at Lynn County Thursday night. Lynn County's press enabled them to take a 17-13 lead by halftime. Brashear closed the gap in the second half and managed to pull ahead for a 27-26 win. Hannah Grissom had 10 points, Emily Mason had 9, Kinley White had 6, and Callie Altite had 2. The boys' team faced a red-hot shooting Mustang team who jumped out to a 20-7 halftime lead. Brashear couldn't close the gap in the second half, and Lynn County went on to win by a score of 37-21. Garrett Hausman scored 8 points for Brashear, Brandon Jacobson had 7, Quinn Allen had 4, and Cody Mallett had 2 points. The Lady Tigers took on Novinger Tuesday night in the first round of the Atlanta Junior High Tournament. Neither team's offense got off to a quick start, with Brashear holding a 4-3 lead after one quarter and a 14-10 lead at the halftime. Brashear fell behind in the fourth quarter but tied the game 27-27 with 2 minutes left. The Tigers then took a 29-27 lead with a minute left and held on for the win. Emily Mason scored 12 points, Callie Altite had 6, Kinley White had 5, Hannah Grissom had 4, and Tana Garlock scored 2 points. The Brashear boys faced host Atlanta in their first round game of the Atlanta Junior High Tournament. Atlanta jumped out to an early lead, and Brashear struggled throughout the second and third quarters to try to keep within 10 points of Atlanta. Late in the fourth quarter, Brashear got things working and made a furious rally to pull within 40-39, but Atlanta iced the game in the closing seconds and held on to win 44-39. Austin Peterson had 16 points for Brashear, Garrett Hausman had 13, Brandon Jacobson had 6, and Quinn Allen scored 4 points. Last Friday, Brashear High School held their annual Veterans Day Assembly with many local vets and other guests in attendance. The assembly included patriotic speeches, songs, and demonstrations such as painting and flag folding. The week leading up to Friday has been a busy one, with decorations being created and put up. Also, a push-up marathon was held. Volunteers took pledges and did push-ups to raise funds for disabled vets. Over $1,000 was raised. This week has been Elementary Reading Week. A kickoff dinner was held Tuesday night as part of the celebration. A variety of dress-up theme days were held throughout the week, and a book fair has also been in operation all week. After the junior high basketball games Monday night, a team of athletic trainers from Truman State University were on hand to give a presentation on concussions for local athletes, their parents, and other interested community members. Dangers, warning signs, and safety protocols were discussed. Tough defense was the name of the game when the Brashear Lady Tigers faced Atlanta in the second round of the Atlanta Junior High Tournament. Brashear got on the board first with an early bucket, but neither team got much going until late in the first quarter when Atlanta jumped out to an 8-3 lead. By halftime, the Lady Hornets' lead was 15-5, and Brashear was never able to catch up, losing 29-17. Emily Mason scored 8 points for Brashear, Kinley White had 3, Callie Alltide and Hannah Grissom had 2 each, and Abby Hartwig scored 1 point. Brashear faced Buckland-Macon County in the boys' consolation semifinals Thursday at the Atlanta Junior High Tournament. Although the Tigers had a 10-5 lead after 1 quarter, they allowed BMC to tie the game 12-12 at halftime. The Tigers played much better in the second half and went on to win 44-27. Garrett Hausman scored 14 points for Brashear, Brandon Jochimson had 12, Quinn Allen had 10, Austin Peterson had 4, and Jay Snelling and Brett Place had 2 points each. The Brashear Lady Tigers faced Lynn County in the third-place game of the Atlanta Junior High Tournament Friday night. The game was a low-scoring, hard-fought defensive battle in the early going, which led to a 13-13 halftime tie. Brashear got the upper hand in the second half as they outscored Lynn County 12-4 in the third quarter and picked up a 35-28 win to claim third place in the tournament. Hannah Grissom scored 16 points for Brashear, Emily Mason added 10, Kinley White had 4, Callie Alltide had 3, and Tana Garlock scored 2 points. The Brashear Tigers faced Green City in the boys' consolation game at the Atlanta Junior High Tournament Friday night. The Tigers jumped on Green City early, running up a 23-10 lead by halftime. Brashear maintained their lead in the second half, winning the consolation game by a final score of 42-28. Garrett Hausman scored 11 points for Brashear, Austin Peterson had 9, Jay Snelling, Quinn Allen, Brandon Jochimson had 6 each, and Wyatt Reeves had 4 points. Brashear hosted Mary Immaculate for the final junior high games of the season Monday night. The Lady Tigers started out a little slow, but had a 7-4 lead after 1 quarter. It was all Tigers the rest of the way as Brashear pulled away for a 36-14 win. Hannah Grissom had 20 points for Brashear, Abby Hartwig had 8, Callie Alltide scored 5, and Kinley White scored 4 points. The Tigers wasted little time establishing a lead of 16-4 after 1 quarter of play. Brashear's lead was 31-16 at halftime. The Tigers scored in double digits every quarter except the fourth as they rolled to a 60-32 win. Jay Snelling led all scorers with 15 points for Brashear. Austin Peterson and Garrett Hausman had 13 each. Brandon Jochimson had 9. Brett Place had 4. And Trace Gottman and Fisher Reese scored 3 points each. On the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the Student Council and Shout Club members were busy doing public service projects. One group traveled to Rehoboth Church in Kirksville to help serve a community Thanksgiving dinner. Another group of students headed downtown to the Brashear City Park where they put up Christmas decorations. This past Tuesday, our elementary students invited friends, parents, and community members for a Leader in Me demonstration day. Individual students and student groups presented information to their audience about school's Leader in Me projects. The Brashear Tigers kicked off their varsity basketball seasons Monday as they hosted the Marion County Mustangs. Marion County came ready to put up some offense and scored 20 points in the first quarter and 14 in the second to take a 34-26 lead at halftime. Brashear closed the gap to 47-43 after 3 quarters and took the first lead of the game with just over 3 minutes left. Despite being down to 4 players due to foul trouble, Marion County retook the lead and held on for a 61-59 win. Avery Acton had 15 points for Brashear, Robin Wagster had 11, Emily Mason scored 10, Haley Lawrence had 8, Hannah Reeves had 5, Harley Mihalovich and Alexa Higgins had 3 each, and Melissa Wagster and Sadie Potter scored 2 points each. The Tigers and Mustangs had a very competitive boys game. Marion County held a 13-9 lead after 1 quarter and were up 25-20 at halftime. Although Brashear hung in there and kept it close during the second half and got within 4 points, they just couldn't close the gap as Marion County hung on for a 59-52 win. Colt Acton scored 34 points for Brashear, Jacob Blything had 14, Levi Blankenship had 2, and Zane Sykes also scored 2 points. The Lady Tigers began play in the Nottinger tournament Tuesday as they faced Green City. Brashear had a tough time with the Lady Gopher defense as Green City jumped out to a 24-6 lead after 1 quarter and a 40-10 lead at halftime. Green City continued to roll in the second half and sent Brashear to the consolation side of the bracket by a final score of 71-24. Avery Acton scored 9 points for Brashear, Emily Mason and Alexa Higgins had 4 each, Harley Mihalovich, Melissa Wagster, and Sadie Potter scored 2 each, and Haley Lawrence had 1 point. The Brashear Tigers boys began play in the Nottinger tournament Tuesday night, facing host Nottinger. Brashear had a tough time getting their offense going, but Nottinger caught fire in the second quarter, putting up 26 points to take a 42-18 halftime lead. Nottinger finished with a strong 20-point fourth quarter as Brashear faded to suffer a 74-31 loss. Jacob Blything and Colt Acton scored 12 points each for Brashear, and Colton Sayer added 7. On Thursday night, the Brashear School Music Department put on their annual Christmas concert. Songs were performed by various elementary classes, as well as by individual vocal and instrumental performers and groups, as well as the beginning and high school bands. The art department had student seasonal artwork on display, and a reception was held afterwards in the cafeteria. The Lady Tigers faced host Nottinger in the consolation semifinals of the Nottinger tournament Thursday. Defense was the name of the game in the early going, as the first quarter ended with Brashear leading 4-2. Nottinger's offense heated up during the second quarter as they pulled ahead 19-11 at halftime. Brashear had closed the gap to 4 points by the end of the third quarter, but Nottinger held on for a 34-28 win. Avery Acton scored 8 points for Brashear, Alexa Higgins and Hannah Reeves had 6 each, Emily Mason scored 4 points, and Haley Lawrence and Sadie Potter had 2 points each. The Tigers boys team faced Newtown Harris in the consolation semifinals Thursday night at the Nottinger tournament. Brashear held a 9-7 lead after 1 quarter, but Newtown Harris had taken a 24-23 lead by halftime. Things went better for Brashear in the second half as they opened up a 13-point lead after 3 quarters and advanced to the consolation game with a 53-40 win. Colt Acton scored 27 points for Brashear, Jacob Blything added 12, Colton Sayer had 8, Quinn Allen had 4, and Aiden Zent scored 2 points. The boys faced Milan in the consolation game of the Nottinger tournament Friday night. Milan came out with a tough pressing defense and quickly took a comfortable lead of 42-21 at halftime. Brashear continued to struggle offensively in the second half as Milan cruised to a 76-31 win to claim the consolation trophy. Colt Acton scored 19 points, Ty Gottman had 6, Jacob Blything had 3, Quinn Allen had 2 points, and Colton Sayre scored 1 point for Brashear. The Brashear Tiger basketball teams were on the road Monday night to play Higbee. The Lady Tigers struggled against a very quick Higbee squad who used a press and running game to jump out to a 42-13 halftime lead. Higbee's defense continued to make scoring difficult for Brashear in the second half as they handed the Lady Tigers a 66-23 defeat. Hannah Reeves scored 10 points for Brashear. Melissa Wagster and Sadie Potter had 4 each. Alexa Higgins and Avery Acton had 2 points each, and Emily Mason scored 1 point. The Tigers also had a tough go of it against a tall, athletic Higbee team. Higbee established a 25-12 lead after 1 quarter and extended that lead to 54-27 by halftime. Although the scoring pace slowed during the second half, Brashear couldn't close the gap and Higbee went on to win 75-42. Colt Acton scored 25 points for Brashear, Ty Gottman had 6, Jacob Blything had 4, Colton Sayre and Zane Sykes had 3 each, and Aiden Zentz scored 1 point. The Brashear teams returned home Tuesday night, where the Linn County Lady Mustangs proved to be a handful for Brashear. With a stifling press and some hot shooting, Linn County took a 17-9 first quarter lead and a 33-12 lead at halftime. Brashear came out fired up for the second half and outscored Linn County 27-23 in the second half, but it wasn't enough as Linn County prevailed 56-39. Avery Acton scored 16 points for Brashear, Hannah Reeves added 8, Emily Mason had 5, Taylor Lawrence and Alexa Higgins had 4 each, and Sadie Potter scored 2 points. The Brashear boys also got off to a slow start compared to Linn County, who led 25-12 after 1 quarter and 39-19 at halftime. Like in the girls' game, the Tigers made some adjustments at halftime and came out and outscored Linn County 31-27 in the second half, but still lost by a score of 50-66. Colt Acton scored 25 points for Brashear, Jacob Blything had 14, Colton Sayre had 7, and Ty Gottman and Levi Blankenship scored 2 points each. Mother Nature came knocking Friday afternoon with freezing rain that caused an early dismissal. Icy roads and brutally cold temperatures caused school to be canceled Monday and Tuesday. Those days will be made up January 16th and March 21st. The Lady Tigers were in La Plata Tuesday. Brashear got off to a slow start, trailing 12-4 after one quarter. Things looked quite a bit better as Brashear held their own in the second quarter, and an early third quarter three-pointer pulled the Lady Tigers within 4. After that point, the momentum swung the other way as La Plata pulled away for a 38-26 win. Hannah Reeves scored 9 points for Brashear. Avery Acton had 6, Alexa Higgins had 5, and Haley Lawrence and Sadie Potter scored 2 points each. The Tigers scored first in their game, and it was a seesaw battle in the early going until La Plata caught fire with 7 first-half three-pointers to take a 43-15 lead into halftime. Brashear came out flat after the intermission as La Plata continued their hot shooting to pull away to a 68-29 win. Colt Acton scored 13 points for Brashear, Jacob Blything added 10, and Colton Sayer, Ty Gottman, and Quinn Allen had 2 points each. The Tigers hosted Atlanta Thursday night. The Lady Tigers struggled to finish their shots early on and fell behind 34-13 by halftime. Brashear outscored Atlanta 14-13 in the third quarter, but couldn't close the gap and lost by a final score of 61-38. Avery Acton had 12 points, Hannah Reeves had 9, Haley Lawrence had 7, Alexa Higgins had 6, and Emily Mason scored 4 points for Brashear. In the boys' game, Brashear took a small lead early and was up 19-16 at halftime. Despite some foul trouble, Brashear was able to extend their lead to 30-21 after 3 quarters. Atlanta rallied for 17 fourth-quarter points, where Brashear also had their biggest quarter with 16 points and held on for the 46-38 win. Jacob Blything and Colt Acton each had 16 points for Brashear. Colton Sayer scored 10, Zane Sykes had 2, and Aiden Zentz and Ty Gottman had 1 point each. The Tigers were on the road Tuesday to play Grundy County in the Trenton Holiday Hoops Tournament. The boys played first. Brashear looked rather lost in the early going, playing without starting seniors Colt Acton and Jacob Blything. The entire first quarter went by without a single Tiger point as they trailed 13-0. Things started to click for Brashear in the second quarter, and the Tigers trailed 26-13 at the halftime. Brashear continued to play competitive ball through the second half and only faded in the last few minutes to fall by a final score of 55-35. Colton Sayer scored 11 points for Brashear, Ty Gottman had 10, Levi Blankenship had 8, Quinn Allen had 4, and Aiden Zentz scored 2 points. The Lady Tigers were up next, also facing Grundy County. Things looked to be fairly evenly matched in the opening minutes, but the more experienced Grundy County team soon took control of the game, running up a 36-15 halftime lead. Grundy County came out and had another huge quarter after the half, and Brashear went down to defeat by a score of 60-30. Avery Acton scored 14 points for Brashear, Alexa Higgins and Hannah Reeves had 6 points each, and Sadie Potter scored 4 points.